SIL, who was pregnant and stayed with us for free, threw out all our food from the fridge while we were gone. I asked her, and she called me fat. So I expelled her. My pregnant sister-in-law needed a good place to stay, and her 3-roommate apartment wasn't ideal. Our family has hosted her for 2 months for free. After graduating, the 22-year-old tried to become a model here over a year ago. She has learned to model and is doing well. She had to postpone those plans a few months ago when she became pregnant with her present boyfriend. She wants to retain the kid for personal reasons despite barely being together for 6 months. But she can't live with her lover because he lives with his parents and relies on them financially. My in-laws phoned my husband 2 months ago, a few weeks after she learned she was pregnant, to offer her a free stay with us for a few months. She may have changed since she was a different person when she moved to the city. She was a wonderful youngster, so we were glad to have her. I've known her that long since my husband and I have been married for 7 years. Our relationship was wonderful before she arrived here. My spouse attended college here despite being born in a rural state and raised by farmers. He drove home every weekend, because it was just a couple hours away. We married after 2 years together. We met in college. We have a 3-year-old kid and got along with his family as well as mine. These two are honest. And my sister-in-law used to drug her brother. Quiet and kind. Her desire to avoid farm work led her to migrate to our city after graduation. She wanted to succeed here like him. My boyfriend and I had a fantastic life previously. We convinced her parents to send her even though she had never been away from home. However, we aided her and urged my in-laws to send her right away since we would support her if required. We assured them she would succeed here because farming wasn't her forte. We hoped she would keep in touch when she moved here since we convinced her parents to let her move. Our first several months were spent talking. We took her around the city and helped her choose an apartment. Then she left us. After moving in, she stopped phoning us. We didn't mind because she could be too busy to talk. In the preceding few months, we hadn't been close and had just spoken sometimes. Her parents informed us about her life. We gladly assisted her before she arrived. She was being diva-like. She had the appropriate attitude, even if she wasn't renowned enough to be beautiful. She had an attitude issue. She complained about everything, acting like she was too nice for us, especially her brother. Everything. Even the meals we ate and her guest room bedding. We couldn't grasp this bizarre new creature. Despite the unpleasant conduct, we tried not to become furious. We were unfamiliar with the notion, but we felt it was a phase and that she learned it from her pals. She was often complaining about how we lived, which irked me because we're neither affluent nor poor. My spouse and I are engineers, so our lives were routine. Since she wasn't paying any bills, I didn't understand why she was so pleased whining instead of being appreciative. We didn't talk to her or my in-laws since my husband and I had agreed to let her live with us until she could support herself. We didn't tell anyone about our ideas about this new woman until now since we don't want difficulties. I gave up and asked her to leave a few days ago after something happened on our overnight excursion. My family had to attend my cousin's wedding. It was several hours away. She just had to spend one night alone because we returned the next day. Honestly, my husband and I didn't expect anything unpleasant. After we returned the next day, I went to fetch food and discovered the refrigerator empty. Because we like to stock, the fridge was full before we went, but it was empty when I returned. There was nothing. I almost assumed the fridge was broken into, but it wasn't. Only my sister-in-law was home. She didn't answer no when I asked. She informed me she emptied the fridge the night before when we weren't home to start a diet to avoid revealing. She didn't want a bump or weight increase to prevent modeling employment. Because she knew I wouldn't agree with tossing anything away, she did it when I wasn't home. Because she spoke nonchalantly about everything. She felt no guilt and thought it was okay to empty someone else's fridge. Additionally, the food she threw away was likely valuable. She wanted to follow a specific diet and didn't want to notify the people whose money she was living on. We wasted food and money. She indicated she would become plant-based in the future when I asked. However, she wanted to tidy first. She felt seeing us eat actual food while she drank juice would make it impossible for her to keep to her plan. So she had to ensure we followed her strategy. This woman's pride and foolishness startled me since she forgot about our baby, who couldn't survive on juice, and a pregnant mother who needed all the nutrition she can get. She said this casually, but it was true. She pretended living with someone else's family was normal. I tried to be calm around her. I told her she was incorrect and had to replace everything she threw away. I was furious, but I attempted to be polite since I believed the request was reasonable. It was terrible for her because she looked at me, smiled smugly, and told me she had done the right thing for the family since I could also lose weight. It was terrible for her to throw away all our paid food. I lost it when she body shamed me. I entered her room and packed her belongings without yelling. In the room next door, my husband and kid heard my sister-in-law shouting at me and attempting to stop me. entering the guest room. She was definitely not the person I thought I had invited to stay the night, so I urged her to leave and watched her pack. I didn't want to help her anymore since she had become a spoilt brat from the quiet, polite youngster we knew. She was so convinced of what was best for her and her family that I thought she could locate a city apartment on her own. Both parties no longer required each other's aid. She cried while I screamed, but I didn't care because she made the last 2 months so bad. Due to her own feelings, this new version of her relished making others sad, making every moment at home difficult for my husband and myself. But that was enough, and I was eager to return to my son and wife. She tried to get my husband involved in the dispute, but he stayed silent and went back to his room with our child as I packed up my sister-in-law's stuff and walked toward the front door to push her out. After I dropped her suitcases in the front yard, she screamed louder and said she wasn't going anywhere. She refused to apologize. If she had apologized for everything, I may have considered what to do. In anger, I grabbed her by the arm, forced her out of the home, and closed the door. I heard a vehicle come up and she departed after crying outdoors for 20 minutes. I discovered the next day that her lover had picked her up and was living with her. What's wrong? I don't regret anything I did. Why it wasn't planned earlier is beyond me. However, my in-laws say I was too upset and should feel horrible for kicking her out of the house while pregnant. I disagree since I've been mad at her since she moved here. So I didn't confront her about her conduct because I feared something similar might happen. I think she made me act that way, and I can't apologize because I tried to keep calm and not disturb anyone. I think my sister-in-law should apologize to others since she did something dumb and crazy. However, my in-laws disagree. They want me to apologize to her because they think it was futile. I think she was looking forward to a bruise for 2 months and should have known that if she continued pushing us, it would happen. Everyone is still human. We cannot forget and go on like other higher forms. My husband believes I was too cruel to her when I sent her out, but he has no strong view. He feels it was spontaneous. However, she was expelled for an inevitable reason. He may have done it, not me. Despite thinking I could have been kinder, he doesn't think I should apologize. However, he doesn't believe his parents are insane for exaggerating. AITA because she evicted my pregnant sister-in-law after she went through my fridge all night. Update 1: I evicted my sister-in-law 9 days ago. I stopped responding to my in-laws' texts after a few days of bickering because I didn't know what to say. Unless they already view their daughter's conduct as a concern, I can't. I agree with my spouse that I was too harsh with him throughout the occasion. He doesn't think I'd done anything wrong and doesn't want me to apologize for anything else. He and I are well. No worries. Since he picked her up, we haven't heard from her, so I suppose she's living with her lover. Maybe it's good for her. My son wasn't inquiring about her, but he was bewildered about what occurred. It was surprising that she got along with our son, therefore it was too bad she was booted out. Anyway, I won't dwell on my mistakes. It was expected that she didn't provide us money to replace the food we threw away. I know one thing: if my in-laws, or, God forbid, SIL return, I will not tolerate this conduct. I will demand that our money be refunded. My in-laws haven't bothered me since I stopped responding to their last 2 texts 2 days ago. They advised me to apologize to my sister-in-law and make amends, even if she doesn't move in. I won't, and I believe it's crazy that they expect me to apologize to her for her actions. After she left, the house is better, and I enjoy it. She felt fortunate and unappreciative. This disagreement is unfortunate because I've always gotten along with my in-laws. I can't do much if they don't understand. It doesn't seem like a major concern yet, so I don't believe my spouse will block them. Can still chat to them. His current stance is that he doesn't want to talk to them because they just want to discuss what I did with his sister. News 2: my in-laws visited me yesterday night, a week after my last post. My spouse and I stopped messaging me when I started avoiding them, as I indicated in my last report. It was unexpected. They hadn't texted me since. This is why I didn't expect them to fix this issue so fast. When I spotted them outside my house last night and allowed them in, I knew they wouldn't stop until they had their way. We could have dropped it. My son was pleased to visit his grandparents, but they didn't spend enough time with him. They play with our kid for the first hour when they come over. Nothing changed this time. After a brief conversation, they said they'd prefer talk to us alone, since they didn't want to discuss these issues with our child. I asked my husband to take my son to his room since I didn't believe his parents were there to talk to him. I assumed they could talk to me. I wanted to end this forever, so I talked to them. They repeatedly told me I was too harsh and had wounded my sister-in-law, therefore I should apologize. They also think my reply was excessively harsh and that I should have been more polite as the senior. After making my concerns, I informed them that the event that got me booted out was the last straw, even though she had been rude and a hassle to live with before. They didn't believe me that she was bad while here, They should talk to their own child. I wasn't going to apologize to her since I didn't think I overreacted. I may have been harsh, but she deserved it. Because we had discussed them on the phone, we kept talking about them. After I finished my case, my in-laws were silent and indicated that while I was outraged at her actions, I should have considered how it would affect the family before evicting her. They claimed they could tell I didn't like what she did or said that day, but what I did was still awful and she was still my family, so I should have considered that. It's not fair to pardon everyone because they're relatives. It became so nasty between me and my sister-in-law that I had to defend myself. I told my in-laws that I may have forgiven her right then, if she had apologized. She was booted out for not thinking it was essential. Since I don't feel guilty about anything, I decided not to apologize to her. I said it plainly because I was tired of talking about the same stuff, and it was hard to be calm while they kept acting like I was the bad person. My wish came true when they received the message. They knew I wouldn't talk about it or apologize. A few minutes of silence followed. They suddenly stood up and left without saying goodbye. Despite being surprised, I stayed silent and let them depart. I could see they didn't appreciate my choice or our conversation. I had already decided and told them. After they went, I informed my husband they left while we were conversing. We both think we've said enough and don't want to speak more. I'm not sad if they can accept it. If not, it's no longer our concern. We haven't spoken to my in-laws since they visited 3 days ago. They proved us incorrect when we believed this was finished. I don't understand their issue. These folks are overstepping when they phone my parents to ask me to apologize. My mom called a few hours earlier to say my in-laws had arrived to their house to discuss with the family. Parents claimed I was selfish and self-centered, and that the family would break apart if I didn't apologize to my sister-in-law. It doesn't matter to me. Since I was nasty to them last time, they talked to my parents to persuade me to act better. They think I'm getting cockier and harder to handle every day, so I need to change. My mom contacted me after they left, so I couldn't stop by and tell them what they were doing, but I was still upset. Luckily, my parents rarely dealt with them. They said it wasn't their place to get involved because I was an adult and understood what was best for me. My in-laws went without saying anything other than thank you. If they had told me that family was more important than ego, they may have helped me comprehend. As I no longer think it's about getting sorry, I find it humorous that people say that. I think they seek results by having me obey their guidelines. Their sole complaint is that I'm not doing what they want. Since my husband and I terminated all links with them, these folks may stay sad. This is plenty, and I hope I showed them respect on their last visit. However, because they made up a tale to imply I was nasty, I think I must comply. I've been trying to be cool and not stress over nothing, but I'm exhausted. I can't always care how people feel, especially when they mistreat my family and ignore my feelings. I don't think we'll see or talk to them again, even if they apologize. We need time and space, so we'll avoid them. Hi everyone, update 4. Since our previous post a few weeks ago, my in-laws have been prohibited. A few days after my last post, I was phoned again and texted by my in-laws to say my sister-in-law and her boyfriend had decided to depart and wouldn't return. However, I missed some of her belongings in the guest room when packing for her. She claimed her boyfriend would fetch them. I replied that I was okay. Another email expressed their disappointment in me. Said they visited my folks. However, my family didn't seem interested in keeping together. They saw my egotism and selfishness, which made the visit awful. I never replied after that mail. Them I halted. They told my parents the same thing, so I understood. Their only promise may have been that my sister-in-law's boyfriend would pick up her belongings. Probably to make me feel awful. After I blocked them, they stopped attempting to reach me, and my husband blocked them too. Even if he did it on his own, they'll make it about me. She accompanied my sister-in-law's boyfriend to pick up her belongings 3 days earlier without notifying him. However, she stood outside the home and did nothing. When her partner walked out of the guest room with a box of her belongings, she pretended we were robbers by examining everything all the while. We closed the door when she departed. I hope they'll quit pestering me and leave me alone. I don't care what others say because my hubby is on my side. I'm okay not talking to them.